Hi everyone, Christina here. Welcome to day 19 of the holiday card series. I'm starting out by doing some ink smushing with markers. I'm going to take a piece of acetate. I've just placed that on top of some white paper so I can see the color on top. And then I'm kind of scribbling on there with 3 different colors of markers. I've got 3 Tombow markers today, kind of a bright blue, a green, and then a little bit of a darker green. And I'm just scribbling these on here. They don't have to be in any particular order. I just wanted to get the color on there so that I could then spritz on some water and then move it over to my watercolor paper. So the watercolor paper I'm using today is Arches Cold Press. You don't have to use a specific type of watercolor paper for this. In fact, since this is a pretty free-form and organic way of getting a watercolor background, you could use practically any type of watercolor paper. I would just recommend not using regular cardstock since it won't handle this much water. So I'm smushing that piece of acetate down and I'm lifting it up and kind of moving it around a little bit to try to get that color moving. And then I'm going to lift up the watercolor piece and get that color traveling all over that. So I've sped up the video just a little bit. This is 4 times as fast as real life. And that's because I wanted to show you the whole process. So I added some additional blue and spritzed that onto the acetate and then brought that back over to my watercolor piece. I was hoping it would really intensify and darken that area, but it was still fairly bright. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to clean this acetate off and then I'll come in and add a black marker. And hopefully this black color will really darken things up. And even though it is black, because it is going to be diluted with water, it's going to sort of become maybe like a dark navy blue. And that's what I was hoping for. And that's exactly what happened. So after I added on that black, it was the dark color that I wanted, and then I hit that with my heat tool to speed up the drying time. The reason why I wanted a darker shade right there was because I knew I was going to be adding some white die cuts on top, and I wanted that contrast to be really intense in at least one area on this watercolor background. Now that dark area was pretty flat, there wasn't much to it, so I thought I would sprinkle on some water and then pick that up with a paper towel. And what that water does is it just reactivates the ink underneath, and then you can pull up that ink color and you can get kind of a 4th or 5th color on your project. So I'm going to use a bunch of different die cuts today, and the first one I'm doing is the Let It Snow die cut from Paper Smooches. So I ran that through my Big Shot machine. I actually used some of that same watercolor paper. I had to cut down that watercolor paper to be smaller, so I had some left over, and I just used those pieces to cut out the snowflakes and also the Let It Snow greeting. So I used the Kinley snowflake, which is that larger snowflake up in the top corner. I also used the Marianne snowflake, which is the one that I'm gluing on right now. And then I used a bunch of small snowflakes from the Lawn Fawn die set. So I'm adhering these on with some Ranger Multimedia Matte. And then after I had those on there, I decided to add some sequins. So the way I like to adhere sequins is I first place them on my project, get them in all the places where I want them to be, and then I will lift up each sequins and squirt a little bit of glue right underneath and then put the sequin back down. So the sequins I'm using today are 2 different sizes of crystal sequins from Darice. These are my favorite sequins. I've mentioned this in the past. I love these because they kind of take on whatever color is underneath, and they're super sparkly and pretty. So I'm going to adhere this onto a white card base. My card base is made out of some Neenah Solar White in the 110-pound version. And I just scored that at 5.5 to create a side folding card. So the watercolor piece that I used for the main area of the card was cut to 3.5 inches tall by, 4 3/4 wide. So I had a nice big margin around the outside edge. So that's the card for today. I hope you guys enjoyed. This one is super simple and easy. You could definitely recreate it using different marker colors, and it would be really fun for kids too. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.